So Addie and I are waiting for the kids here at the barn. We're all done for the day. It was a good day today. I didn't know how it would be with the weather. It rained and snowed all last night. Track was already kind of icy to begin with. What would it look like today? I just assumed it would be a train wreck. And I was actually wrong. It was not a train wreck. They had worked hard on the track, and it's actually in really good shape. So I still snow on it. When I say really good shape, I mean the ice has for the most part come off of it. There's still a lot of ice and slush on it. It wasn't really a day you want to be training a bunch of horses, but we did get to train Jesse Balboa a little bit, 2 mile and a half. He went today. James went with him, and Mario trained Off-Road Hanover and Won My Heart Hanover. 2 trips, not fast, not the leg work or the exercise we probably need for Wednesday, but best we could do today. So very happy with what I saw from them. They all look good. Everybody was happy in regards to how they trained. So it was a win for the stable today on January the 2nd. Hey, relax. It was a win for the stable here on January 2nd. Now, I also went with some babies today. Now, the other day I was told Spent rolled off and Granite Hill rolled off. So I want to get a look at why. What mechanically, is there an issue? Is there something that needs to be looked at? So when it came to Granite Hill, I think he's just a big, growthy colt. He was wandering in, wandering out. We put a little equipment on him today. He had a head pull on the left, line pull on the right. I thought he trained great through the slushy track. Probably went a mile in 2:55, which is a lot through the track we had today. And then Spent was fine also. Little shoeing change we're going to make on him behind. I don't like putting aluminum shoes on babies behind, but at the same time, if it's going to go on for a month to to help the horse get squared away, help the horse get weighted, balanced properly, and have the horse build some confidence, then by all means I think it's probably the right way to go. So we're going to make a little shoeing change on Spent and just keep working with Granite Hill, and I think that will be perfect. Now, reason for this video is we had some questions. I had put an email out last week saying to people, hey, if there's any, I talked about where I came from, how I was raised, how I was trained in horse racing, and I think it went over pretty well. It gave people a little more context as to who Anthony McDonald is and where he came from. And the reason for that was to start off a segment that we were going to do every year, Ask Anthony. We got a bunch of questions that had come in. I'm going to take 3 or 4 or 5 of them and talk about, maybe expand on a couple of them, talk about why we do things, how we do things, and why we do these particular things. Obviously, they usually revolve around this time of year: staking, jurisdictions, shipping, trainers, drivers, things of that nature. So we'll start off with an obvious one that came in from Joel, and he said, Anthony, wouldn't it make more sense to line up a driver for the stable, whether it be in PA, New York, or Ohio, or anywhere else? Well, you could. The problem is that there are other trainers out there, and a lot of the main drivers that are winning all the races kind of gravitate towards them. So a good example is what we go through in PA sometimes. Now, I've been to PA last week. I'm going to go there next week, this week coming, and next week, and then that will be it. Hunter Myers, we were lucky, has been doing good work for us. But when you look down the list of drivers, and this is no disrespect to drivers, because this is precipitated by good trainers, but Dave Pallone, right? Mike Wilder's in Florida now. Aaron Merriman, Tony Hall. And then there's a little bit of a drop-off. Dan Rawlings does a great job. Hunter does a great job. Wilbur Yoder drives some horses for Tim. But when you look at the main drivers, I think everybody wants away, hey, how can we get Aaron every day? How can we get Dave every day? Ronnie Wren, how can we get these guys every day? You can't. And that's the problem you run into in every jurisdiction, right? You do the best you can, but you can't line up. It would be great to say, we got this guy locked in and he's our guy. But if he goes into a slump, is he our guy anymore? It doesn't work that way. I drove for 20 years. I drove for Carmen Osiello for over a decade, and Carmen was super loyal to me, a great guy. But really what it came down to at the end of the day was owners. And, if you're constantly hearing from people, that guy didn't drive the horse good, or this guy didn't drive the horse good, because they come in. Every time we get beat, I field multiple emails from people saying, why didn't he do this? Or what? And me too. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? It's not an easy job being a driver. You never, when you do good and you win races, it's, hey, great job. When you do bad, though, it can be venomous sometimes. So when it comes to drivers, hi, sweetheart. Do you want me to put the piano on? Do you want to play piano? Ooh. when it comes to drivers, we do the best we can. We're not going to be in a big hurry to line drivers up. We use we use James or whoever else is available here. Obviously, James is a top driver here, and he's my brother. So I am going to lean towards James, even though there's lots of our clients that said James doesn't get around well with their horses. That's not completely accurate. You know, when we go on the track at 15-1 and we end up fourth, and you say, well, if he had done this and he had done that, he would have won. It's not really how driving works, right? We all love to look through. Oh my goodness. We all love to look through, the glasses that are nice and clear using 2020. Hindsight is always 2020, but the reality of the situation is it's never that easy. So we do the best we can. I think Hunter Myers right now is doing a great job for the stable.ca in Pennsylvania. Now, this is, again, you have to be flexible because this is a kid that didn't get along with Roy Hill the first night, and I fielded, and I was a little upset, and I fielded a number of really angry emails directed towards me, directed towards Hunter, and I'm glad that we have Hunter driving a lot of the horses in PA. He's done a great job. So I think as I step away, I want to make sure that I'm there to get these horses qualified this week. You know, I'd like to drive White Tiger one more time and see how he feels. Won My Heart Hanover, Jesse Balboa. These are horses that I think once we get them started up and squared away in PA, I won't need to be there anymore, and I'm very, very happy not to be there anymore. But for right now, I think being there to make sure things run smoothly is important. We have a lot of horses that are changing jurisdictions that we didn't plan would need to be, but they are. So we have to be able to move quickly and be fluid and flexible, and I think we have been. Now, another question comes in. A great question also. In regards specifically to Will to Win Hanover and 3 Point Blue Chip, why did they not go for more money? So this question comes up all the time. I could ask you, why did other horses go for so much money? The reality of the situation is it only takes a couple of people being absent or not bidding on the horses for them to go for less. And for that matter, what's wrong? You want something different? And for that matter, oh, I see. Here you go, sweetie. And for that matter, it only takes one of those guys being present for them to go for a lot. So I think a lot of people thought that Aki Svanstedt and the European Connection would be bidding on 3 Point Blue Chip, and I believe they did not. And that's why he went for less money. Now, the question was directed as, do you think the pandemic played a role? Well, it didn't play a role in any of the other sales. Ohio was exceedingly high. Ontario, exceedingly high. Lexington stayed pretty strong. It was only Timonium. Now you're dealing with a new sale. Although it's Harrisburg, right? A lot of people put their horses in the Lexington sale because they wanted to make sure that they got their horses sold. So the Timonium sale, I believe, was just a little weaker, and not as many people were there, and maybe a lot of money was spent in other places. You want to play blocks? Want to play cubes? Yeah. Okay. Say thank you. Uh-oh. Oh, it's okay. I'll fix it for you. So when it comes to Timonium, I think it was just a circumstance, right? The sale was not as historically strong as it historically was. And I think also it boiled down to a lot of the horses were sold that people wanted. And further to that, I think there were some horses that, some owners that just weren't there. Hey, don't do that. I know what you're doing. I'm working on it. Here, play Horse World. There you go. Goodness, thank God for laptops. iPads or whatever the hell they are. So yes, I guess it's easy to say that Timonium prices could have been weaker because people weren't allowed to come to Timonium, whether it be Canadians or Europeans. But I think overall, with the strength of the other sales, I think it just boiled down to who was in the sale. And when it came to 3 Point Blue Chip and Will to Win Hanover specifically, Jim Campbell was not bidding on Will to Win Hanover as they didn't want siblings. I guess Jim told me later that Jules, Fashion Firms, Jules doesn't buy siblings of his horses generally. And I think that's why Will to Win Hanover, people just assumed that connection would be bidding. They weren't. And when it came to Aki Svanstedt and 3 Point Blue Chip, was Plum Blue Chip, he wasn't bidding on 3 Point Blue Chip. He had other horses in his sights. So I think you take away that money, that bidding power, that factor, and I think that's why you got down a watered down price on 2 horses. So thank you for the question, though. I really appreciate it. Somebody else asked, why were you mentioning about having more fair staking? Well, there's a million fairs around Ohio, all within 2 hours for the most part. So how do we get our horses and keep our horses tight? To race in a maiden and Scioto, it's mixed with 3-year-olds, and it's really, really difficult to get them raced in a competitive way. I really like the way the fair circuit is set up. We can go somewhere early in the afternoon, race our horses, be home, and have our horses tight. So that's the plan with the fair circuit. Now, it's also, they go for decent money. The competition isn't hard. Oh my goodness. And it's a great experience for our horses. So that is why we focus on the fair circuit. We will be expanding that. It's not like we're looking to race less in Ohio. We're just hedging our bets when it comes to staking. And then a great question comes in. One that, to be fair, Roger, I've answered this 15 times over the last 3 years. Why are we understaked? Somebody said understaked or underinvested in New York. We're underinvested in New York because people don't want New York breds. And I can tell you why. It's because of the licensing. It's not hard to figure out. It's very, very easy to figure out why people might be uninterested in buying in New York. And until New York fixes their problem, it's going to continue that way. You might say we're underinvested. There's still shares left in one of the only two New York breds. We are the biggest fractional stable on earth, definitely for standardbred racing. And if our clients don't want to buy New York breds, then we're not buying New York breds. And that's on New York. That's not on the stable.ca, our clients, or anyone else. And that's really what it boils down to, is that New York is expensive for you to own 1% of a horse, and you have to have a license to own 1%. Now, you have to have a license in Ontario, but Ontario is open to working with the stable and working with fractional owners. Standardbred Canada made it easier to become a fractional owner. But if you're not going to work towards it as an industry, we're simply not going to purchase horses in New York. I've had this conversation with Joe Thompson at Winback and Tom Grossman at Blue Chip. At the end of the day, it boils down to one simple thing. We don't want to buy New York breds if it's going to cost us a fortune to get licensed. Simple as that. And I know that there's thoroughbred syndications out there like My Horse and Own a Horse or whatever the hell they are. And, they don't have to. Yes, they do. They choose not to. They have a big file there with all their owners, and then they race their horses under My Horse or Own a Horse or whatever it is. But that's skirting the rules. That isn't playing by the rules. And when it comes to the stable, I'm not doing that because it just invites problems. And to be honest, if New York State is too lazy to fix their own problem, why should I break the rules and try and walk around rules that could easily be fixed? So there is a meeting coming up in January. I know I talked to Mark Treffy and Michelle, and they understand the problems. These are great people that own horses with us. And at the end of the day, we want to own horses with them too. But when it comes to New York licensing, it has been, it continues to be a real problem. So we are working on it, but nobody in New York really wants to help out a Canadian outfit buy horses. They don't understand. I don't know whether they're short-sighted or just the way that the bureaucracy is set up. But at the end of the day, we are doing what we can to get everybody licensed. So that is the questions. That's your segment, Ask Anthony, this week. Continue to ask Anthony because he'd be happy to tell you. So for me and Cranky Addy, Happy New Year, everybody. Take care.